Episode 21. Freud and the Unconscious Mind. Imagine discovering that most of your mind is hidden from you, that many of your decisions are influenced by forces you cannot see, that your thoughts, emotions, fears, desires, and behaviors are often shaped by something operating beneath conscious awareness. Today, this idea feels familiar, but there was a time when it was revolutionary, a time when most people believed human beings were primarily rational creatures, conscious creatures, logical creatures. Then Sigmund Freud arrived and changed psychology forever. Whether people admire him or criticize him, one fact remains undeniable. Freud transformed the way humanity understands itself. His most influential idea was simple, yet deeply unsettling: the idea that much of human behavior is controlled by the unconscious mind. Before Freud, people largely focused on conscious thought, what we know, what we remember, what we decide. Freud argued that conscious awareness is only a small part of the picture. Beneath it exists a vast psychological world, a hidden world, a world filled with desires, fears, conflicts, and motivations, many of which remain invisible to conscious awareness. Imagine an iceberg floating in the ocean. Only a small portion rises above the water. The vast majority remains hidden beneath the surface. Freud used a similar metaphor to describe the human mind. The conscious mind is what we can see. The unconscious contains everything hidden below. And according to Freud, what lies below often determines what happens above. This was a radical idea, because it challenged the belief that people fully understand themselves. Freud suggested that we are often strangers to our own motivations. We think we know why we act, but frequently the real reasons remain hidden. Consider a simple example. A person becomes irrationally angry over a minor criticism. The criticism itself seems insignificant, yet the emotional reaction is enormous. Why? Freud believed that unconscious material had been activated. Old fears, old insecurities. The criticism touched something deeper than the present moment. The reaction appears irrational, because its true cause remains hidden. This pattern appears throughout life. A person fears authority figures without understanding why. A person repeatedly sabotages relationships. A person experiences anxiety in situations that seem harmless. The conscious mind struggles to explain the behavior. The unconscious often contains the answer. Freud spent years listening to patients describe their experiences, their fears, their dreams, their memories, their struggles. Again and again, he noticed something fascinating. People frequently revealed information they were not consciously aware of, through slips of the tongue, dreams, unexpected emotional reactions, patterns of behavior. The unconscious was constantly expressing itself, even when people did not realize it. This led Freud to one of his most famous concepts: repression. The process of pushing uncomfortable thoughts and emotions out of conscious awareness. Imagine a child experiencing something painful, a loss, a fear, a humiliation. The experience may be too overwhelming to process directly, so the mind buries it, not because it disappears, but because it becomes difficult to face consciously. Years later, the memory may no longer be accessible, yet its emotional influence remains. The person reacts without understanding why. The unconscious remembers what the conscious mind forgets. This was one of Freud's central observations. The past never truly disappears. It continues influencing the present, often from behind the scenes. Another major contribution was Freud's understanding of internal conflict. He believed the human mind is not unified. Different forces compete for influence. Different desires pull in different directions. Part of us seeks pleasure. Part of us seeks safety. Part of us seeks approval. Part of us seeks freedom. Life becomes a negotiation between competing psychological forces. This helps explain why people often feel divided, why they want contradictory things, why they struggle to make decisions, why they experience inner conflict. The mind is not always in agreement with itself. Freud believed dreams provided a window into this hidden world. While sleeping, conscious defenses weaken. The unconscious gains greater freedom to express itself. Dreams become symbolic messages, disguised expressions of deeper psychological material. Freud famously called dreams the royal road to the unconscious, not because dreams predict the future, but because they reveal hidden aspects of the present, desires, conflicts, fears, needs. The unconscious speaks through symbols rather than direct language. This makes dreams fascinating and sometimes difficult to interpret. There is another reason Freud's work remains important. He introduced the idea that self-awareness requires effort. People do not automatically understand themselves. Understanding requires observation, reflection, honesty, and courage. Many individuals spend years believing they are acting rationally, only to discover deeper motivations beneath the surface. A person pursues success because they seek approval. A person pursues control because they fear uncertainty. A person avoids intimacy because they fear rejection. The visible behavior tells one story. The unconscious tells another. This insight changed psychology permanently. It encouraged people to look beneath appearances, to investigate motives, to question assumptions, to explore the hidden layers of personality. Of course, not all of Freud's theories remain accepted today. Modern psychology has revised many of his conclusions. Some ideas have been challenged, others have been replaced. Yet the central insight remains powerful. Human beings are influenced by unconscious forces, forces they do not fully understand, forces that shape perception, emotion, behavior, and identity. Carl Jung later expanded this idea in new directions, but even Jung acknowledged Freud's enormous contribution. Without Freud, the exploration of the unconscious might never have developed in the same way. Today, neuroscience continues discovering evidence that much of human processing occurs outside conscious awareness. The language has changed, the methods have changed, but the core observation remains remarkably similar. We are not fully conscious of why we do what we do. This realization can feel uncomfortable, yet it is also liberating, because once hidden influences become visible, change becomes possible. The unconscious loses some of its power. Awareness creates choice, choice creates freedom, and freedom creates growth. Perhaps this is Freud's greatest legacy. Not any specific theory, not any single concept, but the invitation to look deeper, to question the obvious, to explore the hidden, to recognize that beneath every thought lies another layer, and beneath that layer, another. The mind is far larger than it appears, far more mysterious than most people realize, and understanding it may be one of the most important journeys a human being can undertake. Because what remains unconscious controls you, but what becomes conscious can finally be understood, and understanding is where transformation begins.